Okay, this is a little different than what I'm used to. The following is a conversation between myself and someone who, for the sake of this video, we'll call Vinny. I'll only say that Vinny's from one of the 5 boroughs in New York, and he and I didn't grow up together, but were formally introduced in and around 2016. Due to the sensitivity of this matter, I transcribed our conversation, which Vinny agreed to taping, and I subsequently took out any telltale information to protect Vinny's identity. So here it is. Vinny began the conversation. "What's up, Bo? Let me tell you, whenever I see or hear your videos, I always laugh because you're so quiet. Never in a million years would I picture you on YouTube. Or what's it called? The ID channel?" I laughed. "You mean the History Channel?" Vinny responded, "Yeah, the one about Jimmy Burke in the airport. You know, I was with him and I took out the prison he said he was in for a hot minute. He's a gentleman and a tough guy. Isn't his daughter related to you?" And I explained she's my son's godmother. Vinny continued, "The other sister's married to," I interjected and said Bruno, to which Vinny said, "Good and nuts." Then I told him a story about Bruno, which I'll save for another time. Vinny then mentioned someone who's on YouTube, and I'm not going to say the name. And you'll see from what he said, he obviously doesn't like the person. I'd love to split his head open. He's a $3 bill and a dog who likes to run his mouth. Vinny then named a few people and said his name comes up a lot. He better stay wherever the fuck he is. Vinny then told me a story about this person, which I can't repeat. So to no surprise, there's somebody on YouTube that Vinny don't like. I have to say, speaking to Vinny brought back flashbacks. I remember having lunch with him one day, and he was picking apart guys from every family, and let me just say he was on the money. Vinny and I were on a Zoom call, and as he was speaking, I was drinking a kombucha, the probiotic drink, and he brought up Johnny Sideburns, and I spit the drink out from laughing. He calls Sideburns the smiling moocher. Oh, does he ever put his hand in his pocket? I've seen him in all kinds of joints and never seen him pay once, and he always has a smile on his face. I said to Vinny that if he never had to pay to eat, he'd be smiling too. Let me try to explain what's going on with Vinny as best I can, which is difficult because I really can't say too much as I don't want to expose him, because in reality, this is dangerous for him. In a nutshell, Vinny's disgusted, and he's been unhappy with things on the street for some time now. Even years ago, he spoke about things that he was unhappy with. There was an incident that took place where a decision in a sit-down went his way, meaning he won whatever the sit-down was over. He explained the incident to me, and he was so much in the right that a sit-down wasn't even necessary, but the other person pushed for it. I know the other guy, and Vinny can easily run circles around him, which he did. But over time, this particular family went through some changes, and Vinny got screwed over. Just before this happened, he lost a very good rabbi, someone that he could go to, and that's when his problems started. As he explained a little, which I'll do my best to edit and still try to keep what he's speaking about to make some sort of sense of it. Our original skipper, my guy, he was my man. You know what kind of guy he was. A man's man. They were jealous that I was close to him. You know he liked you. He said, and I took out what Vinny told me the guy said, as I told Vinny I would, because it was a compliment and people will assume I made it up. So there's no reason for me to share it. Anyway, Vinny continued. When he was around, I could do no wrong. And believe me, if I was wrong, he'd pull me to the side and give me a tongue lashing. But he'd still fight tooth and nail for me. You want a guy like that. You knew he was in your corner. And when we were at a table, the other guys knew it too. He's speaking about a sit down. But you know what happened. And then everything changed. And then they put the screws to me. You know, in a way, it was like a fuck you to that guy. They knew we were close. And then he told me, do you know what I respect? When I told you the story and how fed up and disgusted I was, he never once said to me I should go speak to the agents. I replied, I told you whatever you do, don't speak to them. Vinny responded, they're slimy bastards, fuck them. We always say they're the biggest family out there. And now he speaks about his uncle. I remember my uncle telling me an agent used to tail him in an old broken down car. My uncle drove a new Benz, and he said one day the agent was behind him and he seen through his rearview mirror that the agent's car started smoking. He said the guy finally pulled over because the car must have overheated. And my uncle was laughing. Years later, he took a pinch, and that same agent was in on the pinch. When my uncle seen him, he called him Smokey and said that the agent's face turned red and purple. I gave Vinny some advice after he explained what he had going on financially. Vinny's a big earner. And it's funny, I'll give you one example of what he said. I got a piece of that joint, but so does, and I can't say the name, but that asshole don't even know I'm involved. Or that I'm pulling 3 times more than him out of the place. My suggestion to Vinny was to start little by little liquidating his assets. Once he does that, he should start researching where he'd like to live and maybe go take a trip and visit the area. As I mentioned, Vinny done well for himself, and he'll be able to buy a beautiful house somewhere far from New York. Speaking of which, Vinny said, I'll never go to Florida, where all the wise guys and ex-wise guys live. I don't know how all these guys are not running into each other. And I said to him, because they're not in places like Delray, Boca, Fort Lauderdale, or Naples. Vinny told me, I'll go live in a grass hut in Bali and shake down the coconut farmers. And then he said, you know, I laughed when I heard you say you went to Savannah because you never heard anyone say, I'm going on vacation to Savannah. You were right. And I told him that's why I went there. I explained to Vinny that in essence, he's planning an escape and he has to tie up all his loose ends and then walk away. But once he walks away, he can't look back. He said, you know, when they don't hear from me, they're going to panic and think I went bad. And then he laughed and said, good, I hope they shit their pants. And Vinny's right. His family's most definitely going to panic. But what they don't know is they really have nothing to worry about. He just wants to go live in peace, kind of like I did. But for Vinny, the good thing is he doesn't have to be a witness at any trials or be controlled by the government and their minions at the FBI. I apologize if Vinny's story is difficult to follow. There was a lot I purposely left out, as I would never want to say anything that could cause Vinny a problem. He's a good guy, and behind his witty personality, he's very intelligent and extremely bright when it comes to business. He told me how he got involved in a business that was failing, and under his guidance, it's now a successful business. Or as Vinny put it, when I first got there, the undertaker was there taking measurements. I put life back into that place. I believe and told Vinny the biggest challenge for him will be the transformation from life on the street to a much more quieter life, a simple life, but definitely a more peaceful one. And according to him, that's really all he wants. Like he said, you know, when you're fed up with something, you just want it to be over. The good thing for Vinny is he's mentally preparing himself in advance. Let me quickly remind everyone to hit the like button and also for the super thanks icon, which can be found down below this video. By the way, I had absolutely nothing to do with Vinny's decision. This was something he thought of on his own and feeling that he needed to make a change in his life. I'm just someone that he knows he can safely speak to and don't have to worry about. Additionally, I didn't want to put this out there. He did. He said when the dust settles, his people will realize it was him who I was speaking about. So I guess it's his explanation in a way. Vinny's at a point in his life where he's making his happiness a priority. And as he and I discussed, most people can't understand the stress that comes with that life. As Vinny puts it, it's constant bobbing and weaving, Bo. And I agree and know the feeling. Vinny wanted to know how I felt when I knew I was out and finished with that life. I told him it was almost like I walked out of prison again. It was a sense of freedom. Vinny equates the mob to your parole officer and your pain-in-the-ass mother-in-law all in one. Vinny definitely has an uphill road ahead of him, but I know he's going to be fine. He's got a good head on his shoulders and knows that life very well, so he could easily navigate himself out of it. Vinny believes that other guys will do the same. According to him, a lot of guys are disgusted with the way things are. He said the mob's not the mob no more, and anything goes. Vinny wanted me to say, you will not be seeing him on YouTube, or as he put it, they couldn't pay me enough. Although he did say, if any of you viewers find yourself in Bali buying a coconut, just know he's getting his cut.